There is definitely a big question right now with the New York Rangers' future kind of outlook of this team. Once guys like Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, once some of these kind of core players of the team right now have either started to either take a big step back in their game or have possibly left this team via trade or free agency or whatever else has happened, what is this kind of core of the New York Rangers going to look like? Who are going to be the main players on this team, the star players, and then that kind of next wave of guys of this team? And I think right now, with this prospect pool not being incredible, it definitely kind of puts this team into a bit of a kind of question and kind of makes you really wonder, who are going to be the real kind of long-term core and really key pieces of this team for the long-term future. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at a Hockey News article where they go on to kind of talk about the New York Rangers kind of prospect pool overall, and they give their strengths and weaknesses of this New York Rangers prospect pool. So in today's video, we're going to break down what they have to say in the article. We'll talk about what I agree with, what I disagree with, and just kind of take a look at this prospect pool overall for the New York Rangers as it stands right now and take a look at what the Hockey News had to say about its strengths and weaknesses. So let's just get right into it here, and we'll start off with the kind of more positive side of things here with the strengths currently of this New York Rangers prospect pool, which I'm going to be honest, it's not incredible, but it's also not completely awful. I don't think it's like top five. I also don't think it's bottom five. Kind of like the New York Rangers' future overall with this team. I don't think it's top five, that's for sure. But it's also not bottom five, right? It's not as bad or as gleam maybe as like the Boston Bruins' future looks, where they don't really have an abundance of picks or prospects. And I know they have started to kind of get some of that, this past season there by selling some stuff off, which great and all for them, but they really lack a lot of kind of even just solid prospects in general, right? They have a pretty bad prospect pool overall, even after the additions they made. So I think in general, this Rangers team is not in a completely terrible spot prospect-wise, but they're also not in a great spot prospect-wise. So taking a look at the strengths here, they go on to say, first off, the left wing is one of the stronger position groups for the Rangers as it features a couple of good prospects and some depth. And this is an area where I will definitely agree with. The Rangers have an abundance of mainly left wing prospects. I mean, they have a lot of wing prospects in general because some guys can definitely play both sides. They're like a Gabe Perreault, I think, can play possibly left and right side. Same thing with someone like Brendan Othman and I'm sure some other prospects as well. So some wingers can play left and right, but there are a lot of left shot, mainly kind of left wing players that I think are really good and even some kind of just solid prospects as well. Guys like Gabe Perreault, of course, he is a kind of higher end prospect. Like I said, he can play probably both sides. Same thing with a guy like Othman there. I think he is a good prospect. Of course, Gabe is more of maybe an elite prospect, you could say, with his kind of upside being a true kind of superstar caliber player. You've got a guy like Brett Berard as well. You've got Adam Sikora down there, and you have numerous kind of other center prospects as well, like a Dylan Rubrick, for example, who maybe he ends up becoming more of a winger at the kind of NHL level, maybe instead of a center. So there are absolutely kind of an abundance of mainly left wingers in this organization right now, and I think in general, right now, the kind of prospect side of things for the Rangers on the wing side of things is definitely looking pretty good, even from this past draft as well. The first pick the Rangers got in the second round there that they had in this draft was Malcolm Spence, who was supposed to be at the start of the kind of official year last season there. He was kind of projected to be a top 10, top 15 pick there. He falls to the second round where the Rangers pick him up, and it kind of seems like a possible steal. So he is a kind of higher end prospect, I think, as well. So on the kind of wing side of things and mainly on the left side of that, I definitely think this team is in a pretty great spot with the overall kind of talent level with some kind of higher end prospects, but also some pretty great depth overall as well on that side of things. So on the kind of just left wing mainly, but also kind of right wing side of things as well, I think the Rangers are looking pretty good. Now they next up say for the strengths, the right side of the defense has some good players at the top end, but it lacks depth. The left side of the blue line has depth, but lacks the high end player. And I'll kind of agree with that as well. I think you take a look at someone like an EJ Emery, for example, or even a Scott Morrow, who we picked up in that Keandre Miller trade. Those are two kind of higher end, top four, maybe top pairing caliber prospects, who are right-handed defensemen. So there definitely are a few kind of higher end, kind of right shot defensemen. Whereas on the left side, there's not a ton of great prospects and not a ton of even like kind of decent ones in general that are left-handed defensemen. I mean, the top guy arguably is like a Drew Fortescue right now, or maybe a Jackson Dorrington. Like, there are some solid players, but I just don't think there are a ton of them. I would say those are arguably the two kind of by far and away kind of clear top two left-handed defense prospects in the system. After that, it kind of drops off. And I would say a guy like Jackson Dorrington and even someone like Drew Fortescue probably has the upside of being a kind of second pairing caliber defenseman. I don't think either one of them are necessarily kind of having the upside or potential of being kind of true kind of top pairing or kind of number two defenseman, but I think they have second line capabilities there. They're definitely pretty solid prospects, but after that, it definitely drops off pretty quickly. The Rangers did pick up some pretty solid defensemen in this past draft class, adding in some solid depth with, a guy like Sean Barnhill and Artyom Gonchar, the nephew of Sergei Gonchar, but I think overall, depth-wise for the defensive prospects is a bit of an issue, but after this draft, they did do a decent job of kind of trying to fix that a bit. Next up here, they say, with Gabe Perreault likely starting on the left wing, he's the head of the left wing in the prospect pipeline, but he's far from alone. And that kind of tied into the first point there, I guess. But yes, absolutely. On the left wing side of things, there is an abundance of New York Rangers prospects, especially on the left wing, but also just on the wing side of things in general. There are lots of guys can play left or right side. And there's lots of centermen that, like I said, Dylan Rubeck, for example, maybe he kind of fits best long-term at the NHL level, more so on wing instead of center, which he can play, center or wing, but maybe he does kind of become more of a kind of longer-term winger at the NHL level. We'll have to wait and see. Then they go for the last thing about the strengths here. They go on to say, when Spence fell to them in the draft, the Rangers were ecstatic because they were getting a first-round talent in the second round, like I've talked about a lot. Often might play games this season, and there is a world in which he brings some of the same elements that Will Cooley brought the last couple of years. Berard and Sikora are a bit undersized, but they bring a ton of talent and work their tails off as well. Even Kalle Vesinen is an intriguing depth option at 22 years old. And then for weaknesses in the article, they go on to say, once Gabe Perreault jumps into the NHL, the right wing will be fairly vacant. And I mean, that's fair. But like I said, I think there's a lot of wingers and even centermen that, may be centermen that may go to wing eventually, right? Or they may be a left winger, left shot guy, but can play on the right. So I don't think that's as big of an issue. I think at this point, you really just want talented forwards, and then you kind of figure it out from there. Obviously, you're not really going to see many wingers make the jump from wing to center, but lots of centermen can go from center to wing either side, and lots of guys can go from left wing to right wing or right wing to left wing. So I don't think that's as big of an issue because there is a pretty big abundance of really just decent and solid prospects on the wing side of things in the Rangers system, but there is a bit of an issue at the high end because there aren't a ton of super high-end kind of top six potential kind of real wing prospects, but there are a few there, and there is that one elite one with Gabe Perreault. And then after that, they just kind of continue on talking about how the New York Rangers have a pretty big weakness on the right wing side of things in the prospect pool, which, I agree with technically, but like I mentioned, there are lots of centers that can play right wing. There are left wings that can play right wing, so I'm not terribly worried about that, and even a guy that doesn't seem like they're really counting into effect in this kind of right wing side of things here is Brendan Othmann, who is one of the better prospects in this system right now as well, who is a guy definitely capable of playing both left wing and right wing. So I think this team is kind of fine on that side of things there. Overall, is the prospect pool phenomenal? No. Are there some weaknesses? Absolutely. Are there a few strengths? Sure. I think overall, the depth of the kind of prospect pool is pretty solid there. There are quite a few prospects that I think very well could end up having, solid pro careers and very well could end up doing so at the NHL level, but it definitely seems like this Rangers team kind of lacks a bunch of those kind of really high-end kind of potential players, which it's unfortunate there. Obviously, you need those kind of guys too, but I think at least there is a solid kind of base of prospects now. There are a few kind of high-ish upside players, but there's only kind of really one super kind of high-end guy, which is a little disappointing there, but, this team has been, other than this past trade deadline, the previous few seasons there, of course, was pretty heavy kind of buyers in the kind of regular season and off season. So this team has lost a lot of picks and prospects and assets over the years. So that obviously was a big factor in kind of why this prospect pool for the Rangers hasn't been anything too special for quite a while now. But I think in general, the prospect pool for this team overall, it's not bad. It's not great, but it really is just kind of decent. It has a solid kind of base of prospects. It has a few kind of higher upside guys, but it really does lack those super high-end prospects, which you definitely, of course, want more of. But Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day a video about the New York Rangers. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts on the New York Rangers' kind of strengths and weaknesses with this prospect pool right now? Do you think the Rangers have a big issue with the kind of lack of right-wing prospects? Or do you kind of agree with me thinking that some left wingers are going to play right wing, some centers are going to revert to wing eventually, so it'll kind of work itself out? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.